Welcome back, Keepers of the Flame. I accidentally pushed stop. Okay, where the heck was I? Okay, so we're gonna continue on the religious trauma thing. So on the 102 note, I really feel the call to put out a disclosure and maybe go through a list of things for you to understand how to not do this again, how to keep yourself safe. What are some of the symbols, signs, and practices that cults put into place? And not necessarily always on purpose. This could be totally subconscious, you guys. This is the energy that's pervasive on the planet right now. So, of course, we're going to be inflicted by it. And that's when you're not conscious of it and you're not doing something to prevent it from happening. It's going to happen by default. Remember that little story of the monkeys on the island who learned how to do all this cool stuff, and then all of a sudden the monkeys on the mainland learned how to do it too, and then everybody's practicing the same thing even though the monkeys were so far apart. They learned how to do the same thing. Okay, this is the same idea. When our energy on the planet is so pervasive in this one particular area, aka trauma bond, trauma binding spell, aka regale to bind again, yada yada yada, and we'll break down how that works. And there's an actual document from a health person that I found. God dang it! I don't know. I'll either link the video if it's okay. I don't know. I'll have to check in. But I'll see if I can find the study for you. Not the study, but the actual document that goes down the trauma bond and how it affects you. It's actually done by a real doctor. Okay, so let's go through some stuff so you can have a general outline of this too, and I'll link a website that you can, a few websites you can ting on to kind of get your brain in the mode of like scanning for it. Okay, so cult red flags are: leader is usually always infallible, can't be corrected, can't be asked for accountability. If they don't have receipts or whatever it might be, if they're having maybe some inappropriate sexual responses or inappropriate wording with particular people, whatever it might be. And they're not wrong. And if anybody does step into any questioning or skepticism or reluctance sometimes even to give to the cult, if you're already a member and there's a reluctance for giving, they can send, I'm gonna use the word flying monkeys because now I have your full attention. They will send the flying monkeys after. They don't do the work. You have to understand, these people need to stay clean, so they're not going to do the dirty work. They're going to send their cronies or their flying monkeys after you, and they will do it willingly because, again, the leader is infallible. Okay, so when you have that mentality playing out in front of your face, walk away. Just walk away. They alone have all the answers and no one can chime in or be even adding to the narrative, if you will. And sometimes, if you find yourself in that predicament where you have joined a particular group and all of a sudden you say something and all of a sudden, the whole group dynamic changes and like you're standing there going, everything just shifted, I don't get it. Back away. Back away. If you get that weird feeling, back away and just observe. Take your time before subscribing to anything. I personally don't. I don't. I like exploring new ideas. I like exploring new experiences. I like understanding things, but I do not like committing my life force energy, my frequency to anything. I like to keep it. That's my that's my thing. That's just my personal view. I'm not here to tell you whether God is real or not. I'm not here to tell you that. The second one is deceptive recruitments. So I think the really cool one for this is Dianetics with Scientology, because I read the book. It's freaking fascinating. It's really cool. I liked it. I thought it was fascinating. I didn't sign up for Scientology but because it was so well done, so well put, or whatever, it's basically like a high-tech personality test that's going to pinpoint you suck at this so we can help you with it. That's kind of that's the breakdown of it, okay? A really high-end personality test, and they promise to help you out with that. And it's usually a low pressure sales pitch. They're like, do you feel like you're getting anything out of this? Did you feel like this helped you in any way? Please give me your bank account information so I can take some money out of it and donate 45% of all of your life force energy and time and resources to my life. That type of thing. They get the ball rolling real quick. And usually there's little to no knowledge about the actual organization, what it does, how it operates right off the bat. We're a bunch of people doing good. We're putting out this into the world. We're putting out that into the world. And it's all peaches and cream. Pinky fucking swear. Okay. Number 3. Exclusively in faith. Can't go on other spiritual practices or like say you go to a Lutheran church and you have a yoga retreat. They might throw a hissy. They might not. I don't know. Usually the members do most of the moderation again on this because the flying monkeys have been heavily indoctrinated once again to do the dirty work, to talk trash, to manipulate, to lie, to cheat, to steal, whatever it is that the omnipotent leader feels they should do. Okay? And this is how they moderate you, how they change your perspective on things, and how they manipulate your behavior in such a way. And sometimes it's very subtle. Sometimes they'll just blacklist you, right? You don't have to do anything really wrong. You can just say the wrong thing and all of a sudden nobody's talking to you. Do you get what I mean? Like, there's just a shift. And you need to realize that, like, when that happens in a group dynamic, something's really wrong. On a very deep and fundamental level, there's something very, very wrong. And you need to take a few steps back and say, hey, I don't think this is for me. So number 4, intimidation, fear, and isolation. They'll take you from friends, they'll take you from family, and they'll tell you that they're all corrupt and that they're mean and cruel and yada, 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 which with this religious trauma thing, right? If your family is completely attached to a religion and now you're getting into another trauma bond with a cult, and they're like, you can't be around your family anymore because obviously they're causing you trauma. That should be your personal choice. That should not come in from anybody. That's personal choice. You do the research, you do what's best for you, and we'll get into that later. But it should come from within. That like, hey, this is having a really nasty effect on my life. I need to get out of this. See what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying when you're getting out of one cult, make sure you don't step into another. Okay? Really important. So sometimes this looks like a group dynamic in the way that like everybody's getting along in a very helpful and hopeful and delightful way and making you feel like this is your new family. Therefore, making everybody else on the outside look terrible. So this could be the other way if they're not, if they haven't quote unquote hooked you yet. They could be, in fact, pulling you in a loving and accepting way, right? Especially if you have resources that they want. That's why you don't tell them what's going on. You don't give them any inclining what's happening with you on a financial level, on an emotional level, on a familial level. You don't talk about your personal life right out when you're going into any group. You sit back and you observe, and you get to pick what you want to resonate with. You get to pick your frequency, energy, vibration that you want to connect to, that you want to plug into. So holding back, waiting, and seeing how things play out, super important. Okay. And then they'll suck you into, if you don't get X, Y, or Z, we're not going to do this with you anymore. We're not going to be nice to you. We're not going to talk to you. Whatever it is, right? Number 5, illegal activities, which can come in a financial way. Sometimes people are selling drugs or giving drugs to the members of the church community. Sexual abuse. Pretty much, yeah. That kind of goes without saying. Any group dynamic that has a leader that's completely and totally infallible, yeah, it's pretty much, and they'll preach polygamy and whatever else, and they'll do the things that, are sexually questionable while they're preaching complete and total abstinence, right? So you have one side of the spectrum or the other. Completely, I get to have sex with all the females and you get to have none of the sex. Or nobody's having sex at all because it's the devil's work. Or whatever it is, right? You have to understand how those dynamics are playing out on the group scale so you can see those energies and frequencies for yourself. Oh, religious dogma. Don't be stepping in. And now, rules and regulations that hold extreme punishment for breaking. Rules and regulations that hold extreme punishment for rule breaking. Or like a doomsday. That's a huge one. Oh my gosh. The doomsday thing. This happens even on the larger places, Mormonism and church. What do they call it? Jehovah's Witnesses. They have these doomsday things, like the Second Testament holds, the Great Apocalypse and whatever else, which just means an unveiling. So that typically is a thing with religious cults. Secret languages. I'm thinking like Scientology here. A lot of people are taking off that secret language thing. Like they have code words for stupid stuff. Like you don't know what the heck they're talking about, but like they know what they're talking about and they're just signifying to each other that, hey, this is happening right now, act like this. Or because this happened, we're going to install this. We need to blah, 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 blah for this. Whatever it might be, that secret language, that logos, that is like, hey, we're now all like little groundhogs, and now we're gonna all kind of fall in line and do the thing that the leader told us to do, but didn't really tell us directly to do, but that we're gonna do now. Does that make sense? And sometimes the leader doesn't even have to tell them. Sometimes they just do it instinctively. Like, hey, this is happening, so blah, 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 blah. Can't remember any of the logos, like fair game and suppressive person. And if you see any, like, it doesn't have to be Scientology, but it's Scientology kind of put that out there. So people are thinking that that's the way to be now in a cult-like system where we're going to say secret words and we're going to put little signifiers out there that now as a group we're moving forward in this direction because XYZ happened and it's not in our control, but we're going to rein it back in and we're going to get it under control and do whatever it is, right? That's kind of what that secret language is for, is we're the only ones because we're the chosen ones. Does that make sense? So that kind of mentality can become very, very dangerous very fast. In a blink of a freaking eye. You could have, a flying monkey go off and threaten bodily harm and murder and whatever else. You need to be careful with this, guys. If this, I think the secret language thing that's a major signifier to me that some sort of something has already happened to threaten the system, and because stuff is not copacetic on the other side of that curtain, really extreme measures such as a secret language had to be made. That's huge to me. That's a huge red flag. So if people start talking and you don't understand what the hell is going on, careful. Back off. Proceed with caution. Look, listen, observe, and then watch. Okay? Because that means that at any moment, if you do anything that this cult feels offensive, because they're not going to tell you what that is, that's what cults are about. If this person steps outside of our little sacred bubble area that we don't feel comfortable in, they immediately get a target on their back. Okay. Murder is not out of the number 5 illegal activities list of things that are fucked up. Okay. This is why when you're getting out of one religious trauma, you don't step into another, because consequences could be dire, guys. Not only it's not just that it could be potentially, hanging out with murderers. They might recruit you to do so, or worse yet, you could become the victim of one. So just please, and if you are starting a cult and happen to be watching, just put things in place so that this just doesn't need to happen. It doesn't need to happen. Make sure you're an upright person who can stand up to some questioning. That's it. That's all. I don't care if you think the moon is purple and that, people need to dye their hair orange. Fine. If people want to do that, that's their right to do that. If people want to give you money, that's their right to do that. I'm not bashing any of that. But don't break the law. And if you can't stand up to some questioning, maybe reconsider your cult. You need to be able to stand up to some questioning. You need to hold some integrity. You need to hold some dignity. And you need to hold some space for other people's perspectives. That's all I'm saying. Because there's so many cult leaders watching me right now. Okay. 8. Oftentimes, the other members will be used as the flying monkeys to do the deeds and punish, shame, carry out other horrendous and even mundane things. But then there can be humiliation, stalking, harassment, murder or threats thereof. I think David Miscavige's dad wrote a whole book where he was like being stalked and they were going to let him die on the side of the road or something. Okay. So, and this is just for people who who question or leave. It needs to be kept in check. It needs to be kept in check. And this is often a direct reflection of the leader and their wishes and their practices, right? If you weren't the Wicked Witch of the West, you don't need no flying monkeys. Period. The end. Alright, which brings me to my next breakdown. So the amygdala. Amygdala is Latin for almonds, and those sit in those 2 little cuppy things called the hippocampus, and they make little devil horns, if you can believe it or not. I call them archangels, personally. Angels is just a word, Latin word for messengers. That's it, that's all. There's some sort of whatever. They're just messengers in our brain. Sorry. They're just messengers. That's it, that's all. And they're little loopies in our head called the hippocampus. This is gonna piss some people off. That's okay. Okay. So when our amygdalas get triggered, and this is the part of the brain called the cerebrum, some people call it the lizard brain. An alien race. We all have lizard brain. It's not exclusive to one sect of us or the other. At least as far as science knows, we all have it. So, lizard brain, seat of God, eye of Horus, whatever the heck you want to call it, okay? Have fun with it. So you have your two of cups, right? So your two little receptors with your amygdalas, your little almonds. Now, what are almonds high in? Magnesium. Magnesium is a transmitter herb mineral that takes all of the nutrients and minerals that you do ingest and puts them where they need to go. So these little receptors are receiving the messages and taking them where they need to go. Somebody was thinking when they were doing this, I hope. And the hippocampus, your little archangels or your devil horns, whatever, take them down into the central nervous system and put it throughout your body. Now, this can go the other way. You can receive a sensation in your body and it comes up to the brain, and the hippocampus is like, okay, the last time this happened, this is what was happening. Okay? So it's the learning. The hippocampus is in charge of messages and learning. Okay? You're receiving messages in your little two of cups. I talk about this in my readings. Two of cups. And then into, and everything's processing through the hippocampus. It's your learning center, okay? Now we make this wild assumption that this is the part of the brain that is only receiving messages of trauma, aka fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? Sending messages to do one or the other or all of the above. Okay, so when your amygdala is receiving and getting triggered that way, you are now learning. You are hyper learning. You're hyperactive. Okay, so when something comes at you, or something comes at another person, or you see something on a screen, or you read about it, these things are all triggering that response in your body, flooding your system with cortisol, the stress hormone. You with me? Okay. So, this happens on a physical, psychological, emotional, social, financial, mental, sexual level, right? There's all these kinds of triggers and traumas that we endure, okay? But we're going to take 3 different stories today and break down what's actually happening in the brain and how we're receiving this frequency, energy, vibration, and how that is getting reflected out into the world in front of us. Okay. So Jack and Jill were given a plot of land on a beautiful acreage, okay? And Jack and Jill were beautiful, happy, loved, and adored. But the landlord of the plot of land was like, hey, I put this little bush over here with these lovely little cherries on it. I can't allow you to eat those. Those give you, those activate the memory center of the brain. So we can't eat those. And so Jack and Jill went about their business, and one day, a little fairy tapped Jill on the shoulder and said, "You know, your memory's not so great. I think you should eat a cherry." And Jill was like, "Nah, I'm good." I'm just kidding. We know that's not how it goes. So, Jill, being the more intellectual of the two, because that's what her curiosity is, that's what feminine likes. Feminine wants to go inside and learn. We want to know how things work. We want to see what's in the depths of the cave to understand how everything's working. Knowledge. I know. That's your feminine. Nothing to do with genitalia. That's your feminine. Okay. So, Jill's like, alright, I'll be the cherry muncher. So, Jill munches some cherries. They're not only tasty, but she can remember lots of things. Lots and lots of things. And so, having a mate, she runs over to her beloved and she says, "Jack, you've got to try these cherries. They're phenomenal. They're amazing. I feel so great. I can remember all these amazing things and I feel like I'm coming alive." And Jack, of course, because, I don't know, love, wanting some memories, wanting to come alive again, something. He ate the cherry too. And then the landlord was like, "You've eaten the cherries. You can't live here anymore. You're kicked out." So what is that going to do? What is that called? That's called abandonment, right? The Five of Pentacles, right? Abandonment. What does that trigger in the brain? Ta-da! That lovely little lizard brain that we can override it though. We can override it with metaphors and beautiful, beautiful cons of the frontal cortex. No, you can't. That's not how this works, kids. It would be nice. It would be grand if we could just smack ourselves in the head until those thoughts, feelings, and emotions went away. That would be great. That's not how this works. So now we're receiving messages, right? In our little devil horn, angel, archangel, hippocampus thing that are now telling us who, what, when, where, and how we never get into this situation again and whose fault it is and how we move forward with that. So, before you jump to conclusions, I am not a feminazi. I'm not. Because I'll get to the ladies first, okay? Give it a second. I'm not finished. Watch it be cut off. Oh, son of a bitch. We're gonna get to the next one. So the next most powerful sacred union on the fucking planet is between two siblings. Sorry, getting dry throat. Two siblings, okay? And one of them thinks that mommy and daddy love them more, and one of them thinks that mommy and daddy hate them more. So, magically, a rock collided with the other's head. I can't imagine how that's playing out in society in a positive way. So then, what do we got? Oh, the slaughter slab story. Oh, I love the slaughter slab story. That's so great. That's my favorite. Because when you come onto the planet, you're gifted this beautiful, wonderful bond with these things called your parents. And when the landlord comes up to you or your farmer father and says, "Hey, Johnny Jr. has got to get up on the slaughter slab today because because I said so. And Farmer Tom doesn't say jack diddly squat. He doesn't like it, but he didn't say anything. Mom doesn't blink an eyelash. She's not even in the story that I recall. I don't think she didn't bat an eyelash. And so Johnny gets up on the slaughter slab. And the landlord says, psych, just kidding. Now, I don't know about you, but the person who parented me just put me up on a slaughter slab. Am I going to want to talk to the person who just did that to me about anything? About anything. Other than sheer lies and prettiness and it's all good, everything's perfect. Don't kill me, Dad. What do you think the amygdala sees when it sees a crucifix? I'm not answering that question. I'm asking what you think. What do you think your amygdala translates that experience into? By the way, I just covered the male part. Slaughter slab. That was the masculine energy. So, we need to stop screaming at each other for this, that, and the other thing. We need to come together. If you're picking teams, you're on the wrong fucking team. If you're not on Team Humanity, you're on the wrong fucking team. Period, the end. I am grateful for you being here, listening to me, trying to do what I can, what I know how to do to help the planet. Might not be much. It might not reach a whole lot of people. But even if it's just one that I validate, that I embolden, that I empower, then so be it. So be it. I'm grateful for you, and I hope that you have a beautiful, beautiful Thanksgiving. And remember, what you are grateful for will perpetuate itself out into the world. Yep. So make sure that you're diligent and vigilant about what you put on that list. Have a beautiful rest of the week, and I'm going to link a bunch of stuff below about what the particular holiday at hand really entails. Okay, love you. Keep the flame. We'll see you later.